Welcome to today's lesson on parallel, perpendicular, and intersecting lines. Today we're going to discuss what each of these words mean, and then we're going to discover how you can find the angles using parallel, perpendicular, and intersecting lines. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's begin today's lesson discussing parallel lines. Now, parallel lines are lines that are on the same plane, which means they're not three-dimensional, and they're never going to intersect or cross each other. So they're always going to stay the same distance apart. So if these lines were to continue on forever, they would always be the exact same distance apart. Now, if we were to say that our top line is line A and our bottom line is line B, we would write this that line A is parallel to line B. And this symbol right here, these two lines, that's the parallel symbol. So we say line A is parallel to line B. Let's go ahead and move on to perpendicular lines. As you can see, I have drawn a blue line that's intersecting or crossing our parallel line. Now, since this blue line is creating a 90-degree angle with line A, that means that it is perpendicular to line A. So we're going to call our blue line, line C, and we are going to say that line A is perpendicular to line C. And again, this symbol that looks like an upside down T is showing the perpendicular symbol. And it looks like our perpendicular lines right here forming a 90-degree angle. Now, since line A and line B are parallel to each other, we can also say that line C is perpendicular to line B because it's also going to create a 90-degree angle. So we can say that line B is perpendicular to line C. Are you ready to discuss intersecting lines? Well, an intersecting line is a line that crosses another line. So as we can see, this green line right here is intersecting line A and line B. And if it were to continue on, it would eventually intersect with line C as well. So what do angles have to do with parallel, perpendicular, and intersecting lines? Well, these lines, when they cross each other, they create angles. As you can see, we have a right angle right here, which is 90 degrees. Now, if this is 90 degrees, then that means that this is also a right angle. So that means that we have another 90-degree angle. Now, this is important because if we have two 90-degree angles, that tells us that this entire distance, which is a straight line, is equal to 180 degrees. Now, it's pretty simple with perpendicular lines because all angles will be right angles and all angles will be 90 degrees. However, what happens when you have an intersecting line like this? Well, if I give you this angle right here and I tell you that this angle is 50 degrees, can you find the missing angle right here? Well, we know that a straight line is 180 degrees. And if we know that one angle is 50 degrees, which I've already given to you, that means our missing angle must be 130 degrees. So this distance right here is a 130-degree angle. Are you ready to take this one step further? There's something that's pretty cool about parallel, perpendicular, and intersecting lines. If we look at our angle right here, that's 50 degrees, the angle opposite of it has the same measurement, which is 50 degrees. And our angle opposite our 130 degrees is also 130 degrees. So actually, if you're given one measurement, you can find out the rest of the measurements for all remaining three angles. Let's go ahead and review what you've learned so far. These two lines, X and Y, will never meet each other. What type of lines are they? If you said that these are parallel lines, then you're correct. Line X is parallel to line Y. Line S is intersecting lines X and Y. If I tell you that this angle is 32 degrees, can you tell me the measure of this angle right here? Well, if you said it's also 32 degrees, then you're correct. But can you tell me the missing angle that's right next to 32 degrees? Well, we know that a straight line is 180 degrees, So if we subtract the 32 degrees that you've been given, that leaves you with 148 degrees. So our missing angle is 148 degrees. Line B is intersecting lines X and Y. And where line B intersects line X, we have a right angle. So that must mean that line B is what? If you said that line B is perpendicular to line X, you're correct. If you said line B is perpendicular to line Y, you're also correct. Since X and Y are parallel, that means line B is creating a right angle with line X and with line Y. Let's take a moment to review what you've learned in today's lesson. When two lines are the same distance apart from each other and will stay that distance and never meet, we call those parallel lines. When you have a line that crosses another line, we call it an intersecting line. And when you have a line that creates a right angle with another line, you call that a perpendicular line. And lastly, the angle of a line is 180 degrees. So if you have perpendicular lines, 90 degrees plus 90 degrees equals 180 degrees. Now, if you have angles that are not perpendicular to each other, then the angle that's opposite are going to be the same. So if this angle was 30 degrees, then our opposite angle will also be 30 degrees. And if we're trying to find our missing angle, we need to subtract 30 degrees from 180 to discover our missing angle, which would be 150 degrees.